Hi, this is Ralph the Mouth, and I'm with Plastic EP and Kathy Carlson, and I'm feeling pretty groovy right now.
These days are all being free. These days are all share them with me. Goodbye, gray sky, hello, blue. There's nothing can hold me when I hold you. It feels so right, it can't be wrong. Rocking and rolling all week long. These days are all being free. These days are all.
Now, I got to introduce everyone. Everybody loves Don most, and I got to say, here in Australia, you changed the culture in the 70s. That was the #1 TV show all over Australia, and there's so much love coming out from every Australian in the world here, and the world loves you, Don, and I mean that sincerely.
Yeah. It takes, I don't even know what to say. It's such a great thing to hear. I've never been to Australia. I know whenever I've met people from Australia, they approach me with so much warmth and praise for the show and everyone in it. So I have got a little taste of that love from time to time when I've encountered some of your mates, and hopefully I will be making a trip shortly, very soon, down to Australia and maybe do some of my music and do a tour. Who knows? We'll see what happens.
We look forward to seeing you in Australia. Now, Kathy, I'll let you do the big introduction.
Okay, we've been waiting for this, Don. We've been waiting for you. Yeah, not only are you an actor, but you're a producer, director, and a big band singer. And phenomenal. So you've been busy all this time.
Yeah, I have been busy. Actually, the last few years, I've been busier than I had in a long time, which especially kind of weird that during the pandemic. I mean, last year it was about 6-month period, 7 months. I did four different films, and one in the Czech Republic, and one in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and one in Charlotte, North Carolina, and one in Philadelphia. All during the height of the pandemic. I was busier than ever. And then the music. I did my first concert with a symphony a few months ago with the Hershey Symphony in Hershey, Pennsylvania. I had 55 musicians behind me, and oh my God, did I love that! And then I did a show near Orlando just last month. So yeah, and I'm going to Nashville in a few weeks to finish my next CD. So yeah, I've been and a bunch of projects I'm hoping to get going that I'll be directing. I have a few that I'm very excited about, and hopefully they're going to get all their financing, and then I'll be behind the camera again doing that because I love that too.
Now, Don, I've got to ask you a question now because every Beatle fan in the world wants to ask you this question, okay? Now, when you were doing Happy Days, somebody's taken this photo, and you can tell me who it is. There you are with John Lennon and Julian Lennon when they came to visit the set, and there you are on the left. Can you tell me who took that photo?
Yeah, you see, my memory, if my memory serves me correctly, what I recall was that when everyone heard that John Lennon was on the set, that got around pretty quick, and so Paramount Studios, where we shot Happy Days, they sent down a photographer from the publicity department, and my recollection was it was a publicity photographer that shot that. Some people thought that it was May, the woman that was with John at the time, May Penn, but I don't think she shot that. I think it was a photographer from the PR department. And
now,
I was
describe that day of John coming down there, because no one has described that day, please, for all the Beatle fans in the world.
Oh my God, it was so amazing, surreal, as you can imagine. What happened was Anson Williams, who played Potsy, he went over to get, we were rehearsing a scene in the Arnold's set. And we took a break, and Anson went over to get some coffee. And the coffee machine was right near the entrance to the sound stage that we were on, and stage number 21. And he comes back from getting coffee, and he's got this funny expression on his face, and he goes, "There's this guy who just walked in, looks just like John Lennon." And we're like cracking up, going, yeah, yeah, right. John Lennon's coming to visit us, right? And then like 2 minutes later, we see this guy, his hair's kind of long with the glasses, and we're all like looking, and we realize, holy shit, it's really John Lennon. Couldn't believe it. And he was with Julian. He was 9 years old, I think, at the time. And, he was very, very soft-spoken, very, very low-key, humble, very humble. And, no pretenses, nothing, none of that. He was just as sweet as it can be. And they hung out. They wanted to watch. So they were there watching us rehearse. We talked a little bit. I can't remember what we talked about because it was sort of like, I was in another world. But what Anson reminded me, and that he was there, they stayed for several hours. And then that John was doing these little doodles on pieces of paper and stuff, and giving them to the crew, giving them to people in the crew. Anson would say to me recently, "Why didn't we get any of those doodles? We should have got some. That would have been something you'd want to have, So it was, I think he was taking Julian around and showing him, and it was early. It was only, I think, our 6th episode that we were shooting at the time. So not too many episodes had aired, maybe 3 or 4, but evidently they liked the show. And John was a big fan of the 50s music, and maybe they watched it together, him and Julian. So they came by, and then I think they were maybe going to Disneyland. That was going to be a stop after us. So that was certainly a day, to remember. I'm so glad that I got that photo from that PR guy, because Anson couldn't find his photo. I don't know if Henry found his, but I found it. I had it all this time. And then when people started with the internet, posting stuff, one day I posted it, and that's how I think it got around, because then later on it just got all over the place, and I'm pretty sure it was when I posted it. So anyway, that's the story.
Yeah, you can't keep a secret like that, Don. My goodness.
Oh no,
That's
no,
funny.
you got to. How do you not want to show off that photo? I mean, it was just mind blowing to me, to all of us.
Wow, wonderful. Well,
great day.
Yeah. Well, can I talk about Harvest Time with you, Don? Because I saw that short and I was blown away by it. It says it's a comedy, but there's some serious parts in it. And again, you play it with Anson Williams, and you've released it's the first time that a scripted, you actually scripted it together, and you appeared since playing Ralph in Potsy and Happy Days, right? Is that true?
It was the first time
that's what they said in the press.
Yeah, that was the first thing we've done together, acting together on film or anything since Happy Days. And it was like a very dark comedy. Like you said, I mean, it's not the comedy from like the style from Happy Days by no means. It's pretty dark. It's almost more like David Mamet, the playwright, that kind of material. And it does get serious and surprisingly, just the tone of it. We're so different, completely different characters than we were in Happy Days, and people are pretty surprised. But it's a great piece, really good writing, and Anson directed it, did a great job of capturing it on film, because it's the two of us going at it for almost a half an hour, with no break. I mean, I mean, there's no change of location. So it's just the two of us in this intense situation. And it's been winning a lot of awards lately in some film festivals. And so that's very rewarding to see. And I'm glad people are getting a chance to see it and recognize that there's a lot more that we can do. And that's what I've been doing especially in the last few years, so many different kinds of characters, which is what I love to do. And I've been doing it over the years as well. But for some reason, the last few years, some really great projects have come along. A film called Lost Heart, which is on Amazon Prime. And I play a small town pastor in that. And I won a really nice award, Best Supporting Actor in a Feature Film at a big film festival in Orlando recently. And then for Harvard's Time, won a Best Actor award. And then this other show, Viral Vignettes, that I'm involved with, has been winning a lot of awards. And I've appeared in 3 of those and directed one. So, a lot of, and then I did a movie with Tom Wopat recently where I play a career criminal. And then going from the local pastor, I did a film called Cult Cartel where I play a polygamist. So you go from the pastor to the polygamist. I mean,
Yes.
that's, and then a prison guard.
Wow.
And so, I want to let them keep coming. I want them to keep coming. More of these really interesting roles and things that's what I really loved about acting, was playing characters different than myself. And that's why we talked earlier, Plastic, and I talked about how I was not like Ralph Malph at all in real life. That was just a character. So hopefully I get to. I feel like this is a new phase for me. And
I know, Don, I just got to say something. The love that everybody has for you out there in the world, and I mean it, it's here because they're sending in text and sharing their love with you is Ralph the Mouth. Oh, my God. Ralph the Mouth, love you. This is what I'm trying to explain to you. Here's one here,
Yes.
right? Georgia Paris, so exciting. Right. Hello, Ralph the Mouth. I mean, hey, they're Ralph the Mouth. So, I mean, it's like Ringo Starr. He can't turn around and say he was somebody else. Or like David Jones was a monkey. He's always going to be a monkey. And it's like, look at this. Who writes this? Right, for example, Kelly Chapman. Happy Days was on today, episode where you all become cowboys.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? And here's one here. I'll just read it out to you, right? I saw Holiday in Santa Fe. Good holiday movie, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, people are just sharing the love to you from around the world. And I want to give you an example. This is very good. You're going to love this. I saw an interview where Henry Winkler is talking about during Happy Days, you did a promotion in Dallas and there was 25,000 people there, right? And you couldn't walk from where you were to the limousine because there was all these people. Now,
Right.
while I'm watching Henry Winkler, I'm watching him with my eyes, but I'm waiting for him to talk as the Fonz. On this general interview, I go, where's the voice of the Fonz? Henry Winkler's one thing, but the Fonz is another. And then he said, you guys were worried about getting to the limousine, so he turned on the Fonzie voice and said, hey, get out of the way, part the water. And as he was walking, someone said how short he was. Do you remember that?
Yeah, kind of. I remember that. I remember him saying, when he did the voice, he goes, I can't do it. It's like, hey, everybody's gonna part like the Red Sea, and when on the count of 3, 1, and he did it, and everybody just parted and let us go by.
Wow. All right. That's some powerful stuff.
Yeah,
All right.
amazing experiences. It was actually Houston, but you were close on that one. Then Henry and I had another experience we were in the Paramus Mall in Paramus, New Jersey, and Henry and I were appearing, and we got there, and you'll see people, and the police had those what do you call them, those things that to try to barricade it, or at least be a level of protection. Those saw horses, and it wasn't much. And what happened was that they saw very quickly that the people were starting to surge forward, and like they couldn't control it. And we were there maybe 2-3 minutes, and then the police say to Henry and I, "We got to get you out of here." And we go, "What do you mean?" They go, "This is getting They thought it was a dangerous situation because there were so many people and they were getting out of control. And where are we going to go? And there was a fountain behind us with the wall and all this. He goes, "You're going up the fountain." I said, "What?" So there's Henry and I walking along up the stairs, this narrow thing, all the way up this fountain, and they whisk us away in a car, and they put us on the floor, and they send another limo as a decoy, and then we get out of there. I mean, it was crazy. Talking about we felt like, oh, what are we, the Beatles? I mean, it was insane. But that was a long time ago. That was 1975, something like that. Long time ago.
Yeah. So can I talk a little bit about the films that you directed? Because you've directed at least 3.
Yeah.
And one of them was The Last Best Sunday. It was the feature film winner at the Telluride Indie Fest, right?
Yeah. Yeah, really good movie, if I say so myself. I've been thinking about posting about that, so telling people where they could see it, because it's an intense film. It was my first one. It's very dramatic, kind of a Romeo and Juliet story with 2 teenagers from Central California, and the boy is Hispanic and the girl is white, and there's some still racism in this town, and these are 2 people that would normally have nothing really to do with each other, but under these very heightened circumstances, they're forced together, and then a relationship slowly develops, but something really bad happened, and I can't get into it, but it's a really good script by a writer named Karen Kelly, and my actors were fantastic. Douglas Spain plays the boy, who's terrific, and Angela Bettis plays the girl. And the reviews we got, the actors, it was like love letters, and I think people should check it out. You can see it on, I think it's playing on Tubi. TUBI is the platform that's playing, and then the other one I did after that was a film called Moolah, which was more of a comedy, but a comedy drama. Great cast. I introduced a 13-year-old actress, Shailene Woodley, who's now very big, has gone on to do wonderful things. She did The Descendants with George Clooney, played his daughter, then went on to do The Fault in Our Stars, The Spectacular Now, the Divergent series, was up for an Emmy for The Pretty Little Lies with Nicole Kidman and Reese. So it was her first film. And I also have Daniel Baldwin in the movie, who is hysterical, and Curtis Armstrong and William Mapother and Doug Hutchison. Great. So people could see that on Amazon Prime, Moolah. And yeah, and then I did I directed a very sweet family film called Harley's Hill, which came out really well. I don't know where that's playing, but people could look it up, I'm sure. But it's good to watch if you have, kids. It's a really nice family film.
Now, Don, I just got to ask you a question. I've got a question here that someone's written. I'll read it to you slow because I'm Australian and I tend to be fast. All right, this is from Jim Thatcher, and he says, is it true that when you were cast on Happy Days, you were attending Lehigh University? I'd go there all the time to see sports events. I live about 30 minutes from there, and I grew up in Phillipsburg.
Aha. Well, you're close. I was attending Lehigh University for 3 years. And during that time, I was going into Manhattan a lot for auditions. And I was pursuing the whole acting thing from the time I was younger. But while I was in Lehigh, I was going after it in New York. And then, so you're right, because what happened was right after my junior year, I went out to California, Los Angeles, for the summer. And that was the intent, to try to make some contacts so that the following year after graduating, I might want to come to LA and pursue the acting field out there. So, but what happened was I was able to get an agent, and I got auditions, and I landed a few guest roles on TV shows, and things were going good. So my agent said, you should take off a little time from school. You could always go back, but take 6 months off while you got some momentum going, and let's see what happens. So that's what I did. I took 6 months off from Lehigh, and it was during that time, a few months later, after getting another part on something, that Happy Days came along, the auditions, and a whole series of them, and then I got a part and shot the pilot. So technically, I don't know. I guess I was still going to Lehigh, but I was on a leave of absence, I guess you would say. So, and Phillipsburg, I remember driving past Phillipsburg on the way to Lehigh from Brooklyn, where I grew up. So the man is right.
All right. Okay. So now you've done some indie films. Remember, is it Isabel? Is that what it is? And feature films include Ed TV, directed by Ron Howard. So
Ron, who? Ron. I know. I'm kidding. Ron. Yeah, Ron. Yes, definitely. Ron cast me in one of his films. I was really happy. It was right after I directed The Last Best Sunday. Literally, I'd been home for maybe a week or two, and the phone rings, and it was Ron saying, I'm doing this movie, and there's a part I think you'd be really right for. And it was like, oh, what a treat. And I had a great time doing that. That was a movie. It was very good. It was the one with Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson and Jenna Elfman, I think, was in it, and what's her name? Oh gosh. Anyway, it was great to work with Ron. See him in that context, being this big, one of the top Hollywood directors, and I worked with Ron. Ron came to me in the third season of Happy Days. He wanted to prove that he could be a director because he'd been in the business his whole life, and he went to USC for one semester for film, and then realized he knew everything that they were teaching. So because he'd been doing this since he was 3, So he said, "Would you? I have an idea for a film. Do you want to develop the story with me, and you could star in it, and we'll shoot it on weekends, on 16 millimeter film, kind of like an experimental film." And so I could have some film to show. And I said, yeah. So we started working on it. I developed the script with him, and brought in an actress friend. We did improvisations, and the script was derived from our improvs. And we shot about half of the movie. And then he got an assignment to direct his first film for Roger Corman. So, I feel somewhat connected to that whole thing,
Now, Don, I've got to ask you about Susie Quattro in Happy Days, Leather Tuscadero, because I've got to tell you, there's certain actors on Happy Days that stay with you all your life. So tell me what it was like the first time you met Susie Quattro on set, and what it was like working with her as Leather Tuscadero. I mean, to me, that's like every young guy in the world is watching like Susie Quattro on Happy Days and like freaking out. I mean, I'm just telling you what's happening on the other side of the camera.
Yeah. Well, back when we shot that, I don't know. I guess she was coming up, she was coming up. I don't know that she was, most people probably saw it on reruns years later, and she was much bigger. But at the time, I wasn't even aware of, who she was. It was just, I don't know whose idea it was, but they knew they'd seen her somewhere. She must have been like a really hot upcoming star. So when I met her, she was just, to me, I didn't know any. There was no preconceived, feeling about who this was, and she just seemed she was very quiet. Also, so nice as can be, and was very happy to be there. I don't know if she had done much acting. I don't know if she had done much acting at all, but she caught on very quickly to it. She just, fell right into it, and was a pleasure, just an absolute pleasure to work with. And then I got to see her do her thing, which was great. So I really enjoyed working with her. And those episodes, might have been 2 episodes, came off really well. And people write to me about that. I get a lot of letters about what was it like working with Susie and that whole thing. And I think she resides in the UK.
That's right. She does. I've interviewed her. Yeah, she's in the UK.
Yeah.
It's like, I got to tell you, every time I watch Happy Days, you got to understand there's a lot of people that have asked me a lot of questions to ask you. And another one I had was, in the first season, Fonzie came on a little bit more tougher, and then they softened his image down. Can you tell me if that's true or not?
Well, to some degree, yeah, that's true. Because in the beginning, if you like the first season, he doesn't even talk a lot. It's very minimal and efficient, and it's his body language and the way, his gestures, and he said so much more with all of that, and he was intimidating. He was a little bit more of, the guy that, you were a little fearful of, and you had to be careful what you would say, possibly. But then what happened is, they wanted his character not to be so peripheral and to be more integral. Just like at the beginning, my character was a guy that Richie and Potsy kind of knew, a little bit friendly with. He had the car, and he had the cool car and all that. But they brought us into the show more and more. So when that happened, as it became natural that they wanted him to have a bigger part. So his relationship with Richie grew, and then it had to be more of a friendship that developed, as opposed to the hood that you were, careful, you had to be careful about. So it evolved into something a little bit different. Yeah.
Kathy.
Okay. Well, Don, I was super impressed. I heard you singing with the big band, and you performed at the Catalina Club. You've also performed at another club there in Studio City. Can you talk about that and what your show is all about?
Yeah, well, I actually started out pursuing singing before acting. I was 14 years old. I was going to a school in Manhattan over the weekends for singing and dancing and acting, mainly the singing I was looking after, and acting a little bit. And then I got picked from that school by the guy who ran it to be in a nightclub review. And we would perform a show in the Catskill Mountains, which was a famous resort area upstate New York. That's the setting where the movie Dirty Dancing took place, and A Walk on the Moon, several movies, and where Marvelous Maisel, they go up to the Catskill Mountains. So big performers used to do their thing up there back in the 50s, especially. I was there in the summer of '68. I was turning 15, singing in nightclubs. So I put that aside after that year and really switch my focus into acting. But I always loved the great standards, the Great American Songbook, and especially when the jazz, with the jazz feel, big swing and jazz. So I knew one day I'd go back to doing it. And it was about 7-8 years ago that I decided, if I'm ever going to do it, I better start, because that music was back in vogue. For a while it wasn't, but then, the Great American Songbook kind of had a big resurgence with all, Harry Connick started doing it, and Tony Bennett Unplugged, and Natalie Cole and Diana Krall, and then even Rod Stewart has done 5 albums of standards. So I said, this is the time. This is the music I've loved since I was 15 doing it. When my friends thought I was crazy liking this music, they thought I was like my grandparents' music or something. But now, then it all came back. So I decided this is my wheelhouse. So I put together a show and did it at the Vitello's Club, Jazz Club in Studio City, my first show. It went over great. And so I started doing more of it. Did clubs in New York, like 54 Below, the Iridium, and the Cutting Room, all kinds of cool clubs in New York, and then theaters around the country, and then have a CD out called Mostly Swinging, Mostly Swinging, that you can get with a great big band. And I'm going to Nashville to finish my next CD, which is also jazz standards, but with a different feel, a little more contemporary jazz feel. So that's it. I love doing that. And like I said, I did a symphony a few months ago, and hopefully going to do a bunch of more of those. I was in heaven.
That's fantastic. Now I've got a question here, and someone's written just for you. I want to read it out. Better to Forget Her is an awesome song. Right?
Oh, wow.
And also, let me say this now. George, one of our fans of the show, has written this question. If you can answer it for him, it says, "Hi, Don. I was wondering why neither you nor Anson Williams were not on the last Happy Days episode when Joni and Chachi got married."
Yeah. Good question, George. Very good question. Well, for me, easy to answer, they didn't ask me. Anson told me that was a little more involved because he was still on the show. See, I was no longer on the show. Ron Howard and I, our contract was up after the 7th season. And we both decided not to sign up again and renew for different. Ron wanted to pursue directing, and I felt like I'd been doing that same character for 7 years, and like I said, it's not who I was. I knew I was getting locked in and typecast. I didn't think the scripts were as good as they had been. It was starting to go downhill, and I said to my agent, and I haven't told this story much. Only recently I've told this story. I said, part of me wants I don't know if I should continue because I want to have a career as an actor beyond this. And my contract's up. Maybe it's time to move on. But I said, go back to them and say, they were offering me like the biggest raise that I had ever been offered because it was a new contract. So they were offering me the biggest raise. And I said, you know what? Go back to the people at, whether it's the Paramount, ABC, I don't know who was in control of making those decisions, whether it was the producers. But I said, tell them, forget about the raise. I'll do it without the raise. Keep that money. But guarantee me a part in an ABC TV movie, the TV movie of the week, or supporting role in a film at Paramount Pictures. So I have something else I can show what I can do. And I don't even need the raise. And they wouldn't do it. So they wouldn't do it. So I said, okay, then thank you. I guess I have to move on, Okay. So then they invited me back. I did a reunion. I did a show where Ron and I came back because they explained that we had gone into the army and we were somewhere in, I don't know, somewhere in Europe, and that's how they explained how we were not there. We were in the army, but they invited us back, and there was a reunion show, and I did that show, and it was great. It went great. But for the final episode, they never asked me. And Anson, you'll have to talk to him, but there was a similar kind of a thing that he was unhappy about something, and then they didn't comply and didn't have him on. So anyway, it is a little unfortunate that we weren't there for that final episode. We should have been there, but c'est la vie.
Yeah.
Kathy.
Right. Okay. So, do you have any gigs? I know it's a hard time to get gigs right now. Are you looking for gigs? At
Yeah,
clubs and
I
things?
am. There's some things brewing, but nothing concrete. And I did a show. My last one was about a month and a half ago, and I think everything is in such state of flux and uncertainty that it's hard, especially the live performances. So we'll see. I don't have anything definite, but there are a few things brewing. So hopefully it'll all open up again, and I can't wait to get back to work.
Now, Don, I got a question for you. They're coming in thick and fast. Now, I'll read it out to you. Pete Best was the best, but Donny is the most. Is it true Mickey Dolenz was almost cast as the Fonz?
Yeah, I heard about that he was up for the part. That he came in and met with the producers. I guess he read, and I think they were really considering him. He was a serious contender right up there. But then I think when Henry came in and did his audition, he just blew them away. Henry just really knocked them out. And it was probably because of Henry that Mickey didn't get cast. But I think he was right up there. But Henry beat him out,
Kathy.
Uh-oh.
See if Kathy's Ned.
Hopefully Kathy's still there.
I'm here. Harvest
hey.
time. Now, you're getting a lot of awards. So what is the potential for this, and what do you strive for with this short film?
With Harvest Time specifically?
Yeah.
Well, what I mean, it could turn into, it could be a series, I guess, with the two of us. But the initial, when we initially did it, it was the concept was it was called Take Two, would be the name of the series, and Harvest Time was that particular episode. And Take Two would be taking two actors that everyone knows very well, kind of iconic maybe, but knows very well from TV show, whether it be something like from Cheers or from Friends or whatever show. But you take two of them and put them in something completely different, like this was, that you would never maybe expect to see them in. But we had such good writer. The producer, David Levin, had such good writers, and Fred Stroppel was one of them. He was an award-winning New York playwright, and he wrote Harvest Time. And he had 10 others, and it was so hard to pick because they were all so good. So the idea would be each week would be a different duo and a different piece that you would never expect to see them in. So it would be like, oh, who's it going to be this week? People that you love to watch together. They had great chemistry, but it's in something very different. So that still could happen. We came close to actually getting that going as a series, but it's a long story. But it still could happen. Who knows? We'll see.
Don, here's another text here, right? Don Most, you have beautiful voice. Love your singing. Okay, so this is great. They know you as a singer.
Oh, that's Mickey. That's Mickey. Yeah, I know Mickey. That's Mickey Galena. Hey, Mickey. Hope you're doing well. I think you're in Florida. Hope you're doing good. Thanks so much, Mickey. Yeah, like I said, that was like my first love, and I do have a passion for it, and I'm looking forward to doing this CD that I'm working on now. I really want to get it out there. I want to finish it and get it out there because I think it's gonna, I don't want to say surprise. Well, it's going to surprise some people, the people who haven't heard me yet. And the people who have heard me won't be as surprised, but they'll enjoy it. So I'm hoping to get this out there in a bigger way for sure.
Now, Don, I've got to ask you, at the height of Happy Days, did the producers come to you and say, hey, you guys, this show's worldwide. They love you in Australia. You know, we want to get you to Australia. Did they mention Australia to you at any point, how much the love is outpouring from Australia for Happy Days?
I think we started becoming aware of how big it was in Australia. We did, but they didn't talk to us about bringing us down there. That was never discussed. That didn't come up. Like, oh, we'll take you down there for a promotional tour or anything. But we were starting to hear how well it was doing over there. So that, you know, that was great to hear. And I know we probably were thinking, well, I'd love to take a trip there sometime. And I still would. So, yeah, I hope it would be great if I could do a tour of my show down there, and with Anson, or some of it with Anson, some of it by myself. Who knows?
Well, you know what? They got the casino down here in Melbourne, the Palladium. One day we might see you there, and I'll be the first one there to come and meet you, Don. That's for sure.
All right. Sounds like a good plan. I'm up for that. Or I'm
now,
down
when you
for
look
that.
back on Happy Days, I mean, we can talk about all these fantastic projects because, of course, you know, there's so many avenues open to you because you proved yourself as an actor, as a singer, and I mean, you love what you do. And that comes across to the people, you know, like you're a real people's person, and that's why people love you. I mean, like, you're very humble to me, but it's like, to me, your greatness. It's like, I just can't get over you as Don Most. But as I said, the biggest problem I have now is I really realize how actors can be typecast and that image stays forever, like Mickey Dolenz, The Monkees, Don Most, Happy Days, Henry Winkler, Happy Days. It's like you hit the top of the mountain and it's like, doesn't matter what you do from there, they're still going to love you from Happy Days. They outpour the love to you. Do you get that?
Yeah, I understand that. And I think I can embrace that a lot more now than when I was younger. When I was, you know, I was worried about it more when I was younger. And you know, because it seemed like it was the monkey on your back. If you want to be an actor beyond that and have a career that can last a lifetime, you know, you saw what you were up against. And so it was almost your nemesis in some ways. So, but now it's different. Now I can embrace that. I'm older. I'm certainly up in a different age bracket. And because I've been able to chip away and keep working and doing other roles and show people, so more and more people are aware of that, and other things were opening up to me. So now I can appreciate that and embrace that and be grateful for it. Very, very grateful for it.
Well done. Your accolades speak for themselves, and your talent is very overwhelming. And we are so delighted that you were a guest today. So thank you very much.
Thank you. It was a delight to talk to both of you and answer some of the questions from the people listening. Thank you so much for being with us. And we'll do it again sometime, okay?
All right.
Of course we will.
Right.
Just want to thank everyone for tuning in and now pouring their love to Don Most, because we love Don. And as I said, being here in Melbourne, Australia makes no difference because we got the stars coming on Gem Stars all the time now. And I just say, Plastic EP salutes you. Kathy CC Carlson salutes you. And the world salutes you, Don Most, because we love you. And as we go out, of course, we've got to play the Happy Days theme song again because it's ingrained in my brain. I'm sorry, I just grew up with it. And my wife used to run home to watch it like the Brady Bunch. So thanks again, Don.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you both. Thank you so much. It was a real pleasure.
Just hang with us there for a minute. Just stay there for a minute.
These days are all being free. These days are all share them with me. Goodbye, gray sky, hello, blue. There's nothing